this very auspicious occasion when we shall have the presentation of...
On Thursday, Finance Minister Matia Kasaija announced 72.3 trillion shillings budget for the financial year 2025-2026, a 3 billion shilling increment from the previous year's allocations. According to Kasaija, this year's budget is intended to ensure the country makes major steps in giving more children a chance to go to school. From paying for free primary and secondary education to setting up new seed schools and improved teacher training, the budget seems to have a lot of goodies on the outside. But looking at the real figures, things are quite different.
I am the Shadow Minister of Education. We sat with the Committee of Education and made our proposals to the Committee of Budget, which does not respect our proposals, even when we present them as the opposition. They neglect them from the Committee of Education. After the Committee of Education, I wrote a minority report. I wrote a shadow minister my statement in response to the budget. Still, none of them was respected.
For starters, the government has allocated less money to the Ministry of Education than was the case in the previous financial year. This coming financial year, the education sector will get 5.04 trillion shillings compared to 5.85 trillion in the previous financial year, an 80 billion shilling drop. Some of this money will go to enhancing free education. The system has seen over 9.5 million children now enrolled under Universal Primary Education, UPE. A further 1 million learners are studying under the Universal Secondary Education, USE, and other government-sponsored programs. In higher education, more than 5,000 students have received student loans, while 4,000 have joined public universities through government sponsorship. To support learning, the government has built 166 new seed secondary schools, rolled out a new A-level curriculum, and introduced a new digital inspection system to ensure quality in public schools and technical training centers. For sports education and preparation for the continental tournaments like CHAN and AFCON 2027, the government has spent nearly 500 billion shillings on stadiums and training centers, with plans to spend 1.34 trillion shillings here alone. Experts say the cut is worrying as there are still big challenges in the sector, especially around the quality of education.
We appreciate that the budget was so much prominent in the infrastructure hardware of it, but the software that learners can learn online, that learners can use internet to learn even when they're at home, was not mentioned. If COVID-19 is to hit us again this time, do you think learners will be able to learn as they should? The answer is not, because we still see schools that are in the countryside, even the urban areas, have no internet connectivity.
The capitation grant for primary education is a bit small, and because it is small, you find that provision of services in schools is constrained. You cannot have some schools report not having emergency pads for girls. You have issues around infrastructure in schools. Latrine coverage is very low in schools. Staffing is low in schools. So these are issues which the budget may not cure at once, but there should be a step towards reducing every year.
Grant aiding is because there are many districts. Among them is Kabong, where NRM gets a lot of votes. Karamoja region, many of their sub-counties, they don't have secondary schools. Then in the other areas, they have sub-counties without government secondary schools. So once you give them support, by government. That means we'll be putting their teachers and paying them salaries. But all that was neglected.
Patrick Kaboyo, an education expert from the Education Advocacy Network, says the government should raise the education budget to at least 10 trillion shillings. He says the current allocations cannot meet the demand for better education facilities, qualified teachers, and learning materials.
Largely, the participation of stakeholders is not so much prioritized because expenditure in terms of reaching out to other stakeholders is not factored in the budget. But there cannot be good education or quality education without the role of parents. So parents have to participate through inspection, and also the inspection and support supervision budget was not specifically mentioned because it is generic and macro in nature. When we break it down into smaller parts to see exactly what is in the basket, you will find that a lot of it is on wage and recurrent expenditure and less on development and actual aspects that promote.
Under the new budget, government says it will focus on key areas like continuing free education under UPE and USE, providing scholarships and student loans, and rehabilitating 120 secondary schools and 31 primary schools for children with special needs. Other plans include building 116 new seed schools, expanding 61 others, hiring more teachers and support staff, improving inspection of schools using digital system, and increasing the number of textbooks to reduce the student-to-book ratio from 15 to 1 to 3 to 1. To public universities, Bunyoro and Busoga are also set to be operationalized, and the construction of sports stadiums for international competitions will continue. However, some issues have not been addressed in the budget. For example, arts teachers who have long asked for salary increases will have to wait longer for their pay to be brought in step with that of their science colleagues.
We gave some major proposals. One of them was the increment of salaries for arts teachers and primary teachers in Uganda. Why? Because there is a salary discrepancy and the teachers are not performing to the best because of their division in at school. And as a result, I am happy I'm seeing arts teachers, they are striking and they are not teaching. And they should continue staying out of class until this government, which is adamant in recent teachers' plights, will come out to solve their problems.
In the face of the budget cuts, experts are advising schools and teachers to look for alternative support. They suggest working closely with communities, engaging in public-private partnerships, and exploring cost teaching materials. It is important to note that learning outcomes, especially in reading and mathematics, remain low across the country. LYDIA FELLY AKULLU, NTV Weekend Edition.